my second point, I think I just want to talk about, is it okay for home fans to boo their own players? Because that became the topic after the game. Javi probably gave his most honest comments to date on this. You can read that in my story on The Athletic if you want to know more about what he said. Wasn't anything over the top, but basically admitted he doesn't think that helps the team or the organization. Um, and last weekend I was driving home and I was listening to 97.1 and they were talking about this and it was a complete mess of discourse. So we're going to try to do it in a little bit more of a thoughtful manner. I posted a story with these quotes and the first three responses. Well, he should stop swinging at sliders so far out of the zone all the damn time. Professional athletes complaining about booze is always a bad look, but it's especially effing bad when you're making $20 and $20 million and hitting 125. Tell you what, Javi, you walk once per game, I will stop booing. So, like, this is kind of the world we live in where the negativity is always in the social media world. What is going to rise to the top? I, I guess like your experiences inform your perspective. I have a different perspective on this probably than a lot of fans because being around sports, getting to know some of these athletes, seeing what they actually go through. I'm not a proponent of booing your own players or really booing anybody. If you're a fan and you pay for your ticket and you pay for the overpriced beer or whatever, I guess you have the right to do whatever. But I think there is too big a portion of sports fans who take all humanity out of it and forget that these are people we're watching on the field. Javi Baez, as much as he is absolutely an infuriating player, as much as I can't defend his performance on the field, um, it's not like he's going out there trying to fail. It's not like he doesn't have feelings and a family, and the dude is trying hard. No one is wearing Javi Baez's struggles harder than Javier Baez. Um, it's just kind of like you're booing. Why? Does it make you feel good? Does it, you want to tell this guy how much he sucks? What are we really accomplishing there? So that's my take on it, but I'd be interested to hear yours, Karen.
Well, this will be a boring segment because I more or less agree with you. If long time listeners will remember, like I've referenced this before, but when Calvin Johnson was honored at a Lions game, this was the Tucker field goal doink in game. He was honored after being in the Hall of Fame, and the Lions had been through some rough stretches, and Martha, or excuse me, well, Martha was there too, but Sheila Ford Hamp was out there, giving the thing, and the fans booed her. And it's like, I might like that's not you're booing a ceremony for one of the greatest players in franchise history. I thought that was very distasteful, just so you had a chance to boo the owner when times were lean. Merle's also not a fan of booing, if you guys can hear that. So I think that like sports are an avenue where people feel the right, I guess you could say, to act in ways that they wouldn't in any other aspect of society. Like you wouldn't really go anywhere else shirtless with something painted on your body. Like
Hey, hey, to each their own.
if people are doing that, I'd send me some examples. I'd love to see it. Uh, and I don't find booing to be a productive thing to do, just in general. So everything that because I watched the video of him in the clubhouse, Javi, that is, everything he said is right. It's 100% right. Now, people are still going to feel the need to boo, and they feel like it's their right. And this guy is paid this many millions of dollars. I mean, you and I lived in Oklahoma for several years. This was a constant thing with Russell Westbrook. Still is, by the way. He every now and then it happens. Like I don't find it to be a productive thing to do, except when the pitcher does a pickoff attempt. I think that should be booed all the time because because I just think it's a funny thing at this point. And Dan Dickerson always points that out, and I like that he does. But is there anything? I try to be productive with everything I do, Cody. Everything I do, I want to have a purpose and make it towards some sort of end of means. Booing, does that do anything? Does Javi, especially from the hometown fans, does Javi hear that and then think, well, I got to try harder now? They're booing me. I can't swing at this slider outside now. Like they're booing me. Like I got no. That's not how it works. So we're going to be unpopular here because people are that it's like ingrained in sports culture. It's ingrained in sports culture to boo, to say things about guys' moms and wives and I'm sure it still happens, but in a different time, say things about certain orientations and their race and like all these things. It's always been like this inherent thing that's happening in sports, and we all agree years later, or even in the moment too, that it's ugly and not good. So then we still kind of do that aspect of it. You know what I mean? So like I agree with you 100%. Like, what do you think? Javi's like not trying? You think that like he doesn't feel like he has no
No,
pride? You think he has no pride? You
you
know what I
don't
mean?
think of Javi Baez as a human person. You just think he's this abstract character who plays on a baseball field. You might go a step further. A lot of these people I'm looking at on my Twitter, a lot of them are old white guys. If Javi Baez were white and he didn't have tattoos and he didn't wear a chain, would you still boo him? Or you just boo him based on some false perception of who you think he is?
Well, like take it a step further. If you saw him in person, like I said, you would absolutely not. I forget who kind of coined this phrase, but it's like they boo me from afar, but if I saw them, they'd want an autograph or something. Like
Is that Ali or
yeah,
somebody like that? Yeah.
some version of that has kind of been said by several people, and social media has not been productive for this as well. And but like the way I kind of summarize it is like this: Is there any aspect of your job, you being the general person, is there any aspect of your job that if you made a mistake, you like feel like you would think it was like worthy to have 10,000, 20,000, 60,000 people boo you? Is there any aspect of that that would make you like you would have a nice reaction to or whatever? Or by the way, if you're saying that, like, again, this is probably upsets some people. If you're saying this stuff on social media with like some anonymous like account, not taken serious, like lower notch of taken serious in my opinion. And also if you say things like Christ follower and you're like and then you're like spewing things that, you know, I'm no biblical scholar, but I'm pretty sure Christ would not like, uh I also take you way less serious. So it's funny, like we think we attach a lot of things to technology and social media as like sort of like the worst aspects of our society, but as we discussed, a lot of this stuff was happening, back when you were just getting scores via the telegraph or whatever. So, uh, so that's
Yeah.
just it's just it's a part of it in a way that I'm not gonna sit here and say I like it. I don't think it's good. I wouldn't the general notion of booing. I wouldn't like kill somebody for. If you go over the
No,
line with comments, I think that's different. But I
I,
also don't think it's a good thing. Who
no,
could say it was a good thing?
I just wish everyone would take a step back and actually like think about this behavior and why they're doing it. And oftentimes the response you get is like, well, this guy makes $20 million. It's like, yeah, he does, I mean, that doesn't how does that really impact like how he's treated as a human? I don't know.
I've seen the
Um,
way people treat waiters and movie theater personnel, or even I'm sure people at that are that at concession stands and all that stuff at every ballpark and stadium in America and youth sports referees. The fact that Javi makes $20 million has literally zero to do with the fact that they're booing him.
that's a great. I'd love to see the Venn diagram of people who yell at waiters and people who boo Javi Baez because I bet there's a lot of overlap there.